It's Kayode and The Guru. The Guru is everly present. He is here, and he is the national youth leader. So you see things from the bird's eye perspective and the ground perspective. It just has different perspective for us to look at. And today we have another opportunity to delve straight into that. The Guru, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Kayode. How are you?
Well, quite well, sir. Quite well. How was your weekend?
My weekend was fantastic.
Did you eat this weekend? I mean, did you eat enough at home? Did you go out to eat? What kind of meals did you have this weekend?
Repeat your question.
What kind of meals did you have this weekend? I'm asking. Maybe before you answer, let me just give a guide to my question. I'm asking because, there's this Nigerian that just broke a world record, Hilda Ifeanyi. He just set a new record.
How many hours did she?
She's done 87 right now, but she's going to 96. So she wants to end by 4 p.m. this evening. So just in case you want to taste some Ukwangon food, you can...
the Ukwangon on the tongue, huh?
Yeah.
According to you, Ukwangon tongue. Lagos Talks 91.3 FM, you are welcome to Kayode and The Guru. Like as he explained to you, we have to recognize those bringing food to the table, and we just have to do justice to them. That is why we are coming in too late now, like as I said before, that with this coming. And of course, I'm inviting more of you to come and pick a slot because we need money to run this. Journalism, which is good enough, we need money to run this.
Definitely, we do need money to run this.
Now, so we thank those who are sponsoring us, and we are expecting more. The banks. Why don't you? This is the only place you can be if you really want to be heard. So come forward. We are hitting. There is no menu this week. You did not receive any from
menuless. Yes.
Yes, because I did not eat any meal.
I thought we couldn't have too many menus. So
I did not eat any meal. Because you started by asking what was the meal.
You ate.
So because I did not eat any meal, there was no menu.
But you see, what you just said now is more of a proverb. Because the proverb you are saying now is that Yoruba proverb that says, so because you didn't eat any meal, you are not flying.
There is another Yoruba proverb that says, Eni for Ibonile anore, enu ara ile amutu. Return back on it to explain the meaning of your proverb to the people. When I would have signed off, return back on. All right. So today, the good news is that I have some friends that I need to recognize. But I'm under obligation not to mention their names. Securing their names is more for their interest and my interest. But these are friends that are doing very, very good for the progress of the work of the Guru. They've come out to say, we will assist you in this your job you are doing. I think one of them even called when he heard what I am planning to do in the port of Houston, the seaport of Houston in the United States of America, Texas, that the issue of human trafficking, mostly those young girls between the ages of, you'll be surprised, between the ages of 15, the oldest among them would not go beyond 23 years. How they traffic them, the pulse of Houston is becoming number one. And I think I will be accommodated if I could go there. But the cost. So one of them called to say that I will do everything possible, but I cannot sponsor such type of big thing. But if it is instead of the 1,000 naira minimum, he told me that he can do 3,000 naira minimum. Those are people that really want the work of the Guru to survive. I want to thank them. But of course, they've instructed I should not mention their name. Okay. So I would therefore give Radon. Maybe I should call one Shuks, then call the other one Olatoye or Ogutoye. Okay. or Kayode, and I will call the third one Shas. Then I will call the still remaining two.
Oh,
Okay, I will call one again. Not. I will call that one a columnist. And Kwanko. So I want to appreciate you, all of you. As I'm speaking, you know yourself. I am grateful. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. And yesterday was Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, yes, sir.
Well, unfortunately in the studio this morning, I don't have any woman. I have men as my guest. Because men, be like say we not call life, we not call life. Always Mother's Day, Mother's Day, Mother's Day. A guy that is facing me squarely, let me ask you one question. How many times are you being celebrated in this world as a father?
That is publicly. I understand there's a Father's Day.
Okay, you understand it.
That's June.
Not that you can even
we should be
June.
next month.
Yeah, I think
so.
the second week, second Sunday. Or so.
June 12th or so.
I didn't want to mention your name first.
Did I say June 12th?
Oh, so Abiola's Day.
You are thinking like a journalist now.
Abiola's Day is the.
I know it's June. But
Yeah.
So yesterday, I was told that it was America Mother's Day. You know, the British, they have a Mother's Day. I think Nigeria will have a Mother's Day.
We don't.
I was told recently that Sambisa Forest, when the when the terrorists are happening, that there was that they celebrate Mother's Day also. Otherwise, all those girls that went into the forest couldn't have been coming out with grandchildren now. They are thinking the same Mother's Day. All right, Mother's Day. I congratulate mothers. So, after all, my mother was a woman. Am I right?
Couldn't have been otherwise.
Oh, it couldn't have been otherwise.
You're not a Gen Z, sir. Gen Zs can't say that.
And my wife is a woman. Eh?
You were born of a woman.
I was okay. Mother's Day, we celebrate you from here. All right, let's go straight into action. I have with me, like as I put it on the social media, wise professionals. They are with me in the studio here, looking directly up, sitting directly opposite me. Is the one I would always refer to as the Sheikh Buruburu of journalism. And he knows that I respect him and I'm very, very loyal to him. That my level of loyalty to him is deeper than the borehole level. Charles Kalu.
Thank you for having me, sir.
You are welcome back.
Good morning out there.
What is happening in Abia State with... you people want to be beating Nipras anyhow now? Is that good? Okay, don't answer yet. Don't answer. Maybe we'll get there. Then, opposite me again, a little to my right, is a man I respect because he's a man of many parts. But out of humility, he believes he should be introduced along one path. Out of humility. Edwin Odiri. Edwin Odiri was the former deputy political editor of This Day newspaper. He can't leave journalism until he dies. I want to believe that. Even if he lives up to 120, I think he will submit his column before God will take him away. So, Edwin Odiri, you are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
How has it been?
Very well. We're marching on. Looking at the country.
How about all those your friends? Those men of powers and influence. They are always there with you.
They are around.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. I remember when, who was it? Ni Adebayo, I think he was governor. He wanted him to do something and he was not willing to come out for the program to speak. You blackmailed him before his wife. he talked to the wife and
he came.
And he narrated it himself. He said, "This is my friend. He said, I wasn't willing to come here to see." He said, "Before I knew what was happening, he has called my wife and spoken with my wife. Then I saw my wife pushing me that he must go." He must go. All right. Now we have issues to discuss, and this issue we want to discuss. There are issues. But the pending time, of course, we know the time because the element we have here is time. One of them is inside, I named it, inside the Nigeria's $800 million World Bank loan for palliative. Then if we can talk of that, we want to equally ask microzoning of National Assembly leadership by the APC. Is it the future of what will come? Then, if we have the time, of course, I mentioned it there, but I know we don't have the time today. It means, listeners, all of you will help me to beg these gentlemen to come back again. Because should I beg them, one of them sitting directly opposite me almost changed my name the other day to Oliver Twist. If he will come, then I will beg him to come again. But listeners, if you beg them, they will come because they have more than enough to give to us. The one we want to tackle today, I name it inside Nigeria's $800 million World Bank loan for palliative. I will talk about that a little. Then questions will go answered because I don't have answers to them. That's why I refer to you guys as wise professionals. So you will help me to cover up my. What's the opposite of wise? Is that foolish? I don't know. So, but please be prepared to cover my foolishness in this matter. A letter arrived the Senate last week Wednesday from President Muhammadu Buhari asking the Senate to approve a loan that is coming from World Bank. The loan is meant to target, there's a particular name given to it, to target those that are vulnerable, those that are not doing too good, to help them. And the loan is from Central Bank, but be coordinated by this American agency they call International Development Agency. Then the federal government again went on the dock to defend itself. But nobody's charging the federal government. So it was not expected that the federal government should go on the dock to defend itself by saying, we are not asking for another, that became the language, another $800 million. The federal government, we are not asking for another $800 million loan. To me, that's a defense. If you are not prosecuted, if you are not in the dock, why do you have to take up much by defending yourself? Then something is wrong. I keep saying this proverb. A blind man was going, it's an Hausa proverb, with his stick, guiding him. Then suddenly he heard a voice. Somebody telling him, don't worry about your stick. There is no pit ahead of you, so forget about it, keep moving. Then the man stopped and turned 360 degrees back to where he was coming from. Before he answered the man who spoke to him, he said, if there is no pit ahead of me, how did the word pit come to your heart? The federal government says, we are not asking for another. It means it is not another, it is the same one. How did that one come? The letter has just gone to the National Assembly. The Senate President read it. On Wednesday, it has not been discussed. It probably would have been sent to the committees. It has not been discussed. But is that the truth? Are we going to apply for a loan of $800 million? Is that what we are applying for? As per the tone of that letter. Or we had secured a loan of $800 million, and the $800 million had come, and probably we've disbursed it to some extent. So the background, gentlemen, is what I will give to you. Then you have your burden. You will bear your own burden now. But let me give you the background. The background of this story is that the federal government made an arrangement to collect loan from the World Bank through that American institution, which I just mentioned now, the International Development Agency. The contract for this loan, we just heard now that the letter informing the for approval has just gone to the National Assembly on Wednesday, this last week Wednesday. But the terms and everything about that loan had been agreed between the federal government and the agency. Now, the contract for this money was signed on 16 August 2022. So, it is nothing new. I'm saying this with authority. It was 16th August 2022 that contract was signed. And Madam Zainab Ahmed spoke about the money only on 5th of April after Federal Executive Council meeting that we have gotten this. And while speaking of it, please listen to this. And gentlemen of wisdom, please listen to this too. She said the money is coming in tranche. This is the first. This is the first of the tranche. And the investigation shows that it might come 3 times. Meaning it's broken down into $800 million today, $800 million tomorrow, $800 million next tomorrow. But the one that the letter has just gone to the National Assembly, say, please, we are proposing this, approve this one, had been received. And engagement of the way it should be spent had been going on. Madam Zainab Ahmed told us that consultation had gone very far with all stakeholders, and she specifically mentioned among the stakeholders to be the incoming government of APC, and that is by the time that the Transition Council established by President-elect Bola Tinubu. And she mentioned that part of the arrangement was to give this money through cash transfer of 5,000 naira every month to the most vulnerable Nigerians. And he put figure on it, 50 million Nigerians. As of the 5th, when she announced this, the money, engagement of the money and the rules of the money had been properly agreed upon. Either it is being touched or it's another thing. So when the federal government says we are not asking for another, this is the explanation, this is the defense they try to back upon. Because this one that came in, not is coming, according to the letter to the... This one that came in, Otiwolio, I don't know the meaning of that. Oluwa Kayode, I don't know whether you'll be able to help me.
So, very strong.
Ladies and gentlemen, no, okay, there are no ladies here.
There are ladies listening.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, outside there listening, which of you should I bring to the studio next week Monday? Okay, I must bring some of them. That's the only way to celebrate our mothers. My way of celebrating the mother. Now, then, the question is that why did the federal government go and sign an agreement on 16th of August for this loan? The intention, according to the application, was to bring palliative to vulnerable Nigerians. The vulnerable I'm talking there, it is the language of the federal government. Because the federal government has a template of the poorest Nigerians that they distribute money from. We should not forget it that palliative was first of all introduced into our system when COVID-19 came in. We later discovered that the so-called palliative were fought for and distributed using instrumentality of who matters in the ruling political party then, which was APC. In order to affirm that palliative worked, Sadiq Farouk, madam, in charge of disaster, let me say humanitarian first, then disaster management ministry, told us that she spent 85 billion naira to feed school children at a time that the whole world knew that every school was knocked down. These school children, vulnerable children, because she did not tell us that those of you who are enlightened in the society, that your children were among them. Vulnerable children. When the children were with their parents at home. Then, within that same period, before COVID-19, 100 billion naira was given to the takeoff of Northeast Development Commission, equivalent of the NDDC. And out of that, the same Madam Farouk herself, the minister, took 5 billion. She said she used them to purchase vehicles for the military. This is just a portion of budget that will take care of military. When it was moved from the Ministry of Defense and transferred to humanitarian, we wouldn't know. But those are just citing examples. Gentlemen, please, you will help Nigerians to make sense of what is happening. Then, after the first tranche of the money, $800 million had come, then the federal government now said, we are suspending something. 2, the federal government had accommodated about very close to 4 billion naira for subsidy in the 2023 budget. After accommodating payment for the subsidy, the same federal government went again to adjust petrol price, PMS. So, meaning, who was being cheated, having devoted almost 4 trillion
Billion.
4 billion for subsidy, then, which is the people's money, then you went to adjust and decrease. That increase, which people purse does it go to? Please, gentlemen, you will take all this into consideration while analyzing. Then, another most critical thing, the federal government defied total removal of subsidy till June. That is not supposed to be my headache. So because of that, it is not really my headache. I don't need the Panadol you are giving to me. Eddie, the APC you are giving to me to play this headache, I don't need it. But the question remains. In the first place, the scandal that had followed this subsidy from beginning of life, that now made NNPC so importer of finished product into Nigeria. Is it legal? Is it the constitution that named NNPC as to remain as the sole importer? And we should not forget, the petrol we imported that became contaminated, known, and President Muhammad Buhari swore to Nigeria that he would deal with those who brought in. That petrol was brought in by a parastatal of the federal government in the oil sector, Duke Oil. So, bringing all this together, gentlemen, on each of the questions, please let us have 2 minutes, because I will not say a word again. You are to analyze it. Starting with you, sir. Charles Kalu. What is your thinking? Can you bring Nigerians to a meaningful point on this 800 million, which had been collected and the letter is going out? We are begging you to do this and to do that.
Well, thank you, Guru. I think for federal government to have even come to say, for them to start to explain themselves about this money, it also means that because of the criticisms that has trailed this money. Now, part of this money is to be collected ahead of distribution for palliatives, ahead of the removal of fuel subsidy. But the little I also know is usually fuel subsidy, it is money, it is the bridge. For instance, like our fuel has been, the pump price of fuel has been increased to 184. It was a bridge. That is, those funds coming in there are the funds you can now deploy as palliatives. So automatically, you're already going to borrow money that you have not seen, money that you have not collected. So federal government has not come out to tell us, because you are also alluding that this money possibly has been collected. The government has every right to collect, to obtain such loans. Government has right to take as much as they want to collect loans and deploy them productively. But we've also continually asked such questions. When you collect these monies, where does it go to? So mine is, I keep wondering, if you're going to collect 800 million between April and May, you have, okay, as at today, we have 14 days to go. So is it that the people, the 50 million you're going to disburse these monies to cannot wait a little longer for the new government to come to decide on who to decide on collecting this loan and now identifying who to disburse it to, so that from the word go, they know that we are here now, we have taken this, and this loan we know that we have taken and we can account for it. So government has continually borrowed these monies, and people have also wondered why you keep collecting these monies without really, opening your books. These monies are coming. This is how we want to spend it, because we have not seen any verifiable leaning to the vulnerable and the poor. We have not in any way. So where does these monies go to? Because just as you also noted, palliatives, because when you mentioned palliatives during the COVID time, monies were disbursed. I remember typically one man, 170-something-year-old man, retired right in his village. He said he was literally knocked up from his house to come and queue for government palliatives. And he said they queued for a while. And only for him to get to the point, what did he get? That he got 2 wraps of noodles. And he wondered.
Repeat that, sir.
That he got 2 wraps, not packets, not cartons, 2 wraps of noodles. And he wondered, you kept me here? So immediately he realized that was what he was going to sign for, that they will even sign. He quietly turned and went back to his house. So, and supposedly that was part of federal government palliative.
Okay, thank you. Let's hold it there. Again, this $800 million that arrived here, even around February or something. $23 million out of it goes for consultancy. And the contract stipulates payment must be made back dollar. There is no swapping either with oil or anything. You must pay the dollar back. And the repayment will be made in installments, with payments due on January 15 and July 15 each year starting. Meaning in 2024, January 15, the first installment must be paid back. Of course, it came with a very, very low, what do you call it? Interest rate. And when such money comes, then we distribute it through cash transfer. Can it be said that money has gone into production, or it remains within the realm of consortium? On this, the question, sir, Edwin Odibri, how would you interpret, because people are listening, how would you interpret this move to Nigerians? Is this the best time to go accumulated? No, I had heard a child saying that government can borrow at any time. Yeah, and government is a continuum, I believe in that. But is this the best time to borrow hard currency again for consortium transfer, cash transfer to vulnerable Nigerians. What would you say, sir?
Thank you, Guru. Let me just say first that it's difficult to understand the intent of government on this matter. And this essentially because there is a disparity between the expectation or the intent of government and the reality on ground. If government, while preparing the 2023 budget, had said subsidy would subsist till end of May, and after May, the subsidy will be removed. And so if, in anticipation of that, they had applied for this $800 million loan, hoping to use it as palliative to the so-called 50 million Nigerians that are considered vulnerable. Now, as we speak, the termination of that subsidy has been suspended. It's been suspended. And ad infinitum. There's no specific date to say, okay, as from so date, we are resuming the removal of the subsidy. It's been suspended.
Yes.
So, on what basis, therefore, are they now disbursing that money when the subsidy itself has not started? It's not yet removed. The suspension has been suspended. Okay, so the other question is, how did the government and the so-called ministries that are associated with it, that are related to it, how did they identify the 50 million Nigerians that are considered vulnerable? Where? How? And I ask this with all sense of responsibility, because I know that even back from my place in Delta, I've never seen people receiving any form of subsidy from government, either at the federal or state level. Is it that these vulnerable Nigerians are only in one particular section and part of the country? I've never known that.
Okay.
And let us also not forget, the World Bank has also raised an alarm just last week that we are almost exceeding our borrowing limit as a country. And so these are the things I think should worry government. But to answer your question directly, I think the timing is verily wrong. Knowing also that much before now, the debt volume of Nigeria has been on the rise, with over 77 trillion being owed. You talked about ways and means the other time. That even the central bank printed money, as it were, what they called ways and means. And we are owing all of that. And then you are increasing it by this. And from what you have even revealed, to say that this money was applied for since August last year.
The agreement was signed on 16th of August.
And now the money has been disbursed. Why? The question is, why is the federal government in such a hurry at this 11th hour of this administration? Why are they in such a hurry to obtain this loan and disburse it? Okay. And I also worry very strongly for the kind of leadership we have at the National Assembly that doesn't seem to ask critical questions, and what people just literally just describe as rubber stamp. Because if there are critical questions asked behind all of these transactions, I think would have been a lot more discerning in trying to give approval to all that the government, the executive is asking for.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me add this quickly before we move into interrogating the interrogation more. Pardon my English. They are never to be found in any dictionary, as according to Badiwe. Now, the first payment of the installment back is not 2020. I just pick it up because I itemize everything so that there will be no mistake. It's starting from January 15, 2027. But we shall be servicing with that low percentage of interest. Then again, the signing of the contract, was it 16th August for this loan? Was it 16th August 2022? It was 16th August 2021. I repeat, August 16, 2021 was when agreement for this money signed. Then, number 3, sir, I'm coming to you now. Number 3 is that while presenting the matter, Madam Finance, Madam Money, Ahmed Zinab, said this $800 million is the first tranche of palliative to be disbursed through cash transfer to about 50 million Nigerians. First tranche is the 800 million. Meaning, as we are talking now, the letter to the National Assembly may be bringing the second tranche and plus the third. Let's put all this at the back of our head in attempting to educate us. I personally am a great beneficiary of this. Now, Charles, I come to you. And the good thing is that you know the minds of politicians because you are within their cycles every now and then. It's not today that you'll be dealing on political matters, and your knowledge is very, 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 very versatile. Today, or December, was when President Muhammadu Buhari submitted a budget, let's call it loosely so, to be approved to the National Assembly of 22.7 trillion, which he accumulatively gathered over 7 years from the CBN, called Ways and Means Advance. Not more than 5% of the value of the budget to hold the budget in place towards the ending of the year. Then you pay it back. This is what the law says. But he was collecting it and not paying back and not informing Nigerians. Either he informed the National Assembly, that not should be our business now. At this point, we should be able to remove ourselves from the National Assembly. Then, when he now submitted a loan of 22.7 trillion, he did not accompany the submission with what he did with the money. A budget, if be submitted, you tell those who approve it for you, I will spend this on this. Even this one, he has collected it, he has spent it, but he did not even tell them that this is what I did with the money. Yet, the National Assembly went ahead to approve it. But only last 2 weeks, when they were to approve it, he sent another 1 trillion from the Ways and Means that he had. This is to sponsor 2023 budget. So add this 1 trillion to the 22.7 trillion. So the National Assembly has approved that 23.7 trillion without knowing what it was spent for, which moved our total debt for the incoming government to 77 trillion. But with this 800 and something that is coming now, we are going to land around 82 trillion. Sir, the National Assembly did well by approving such whooping sum of money without even knowing how it was spent for. What's your opinion, sir?
I'm already getting confused with all the calculations you're making. But the National Assembly, the outgoing Senate President told us, except if a letter does not drop on his table from the executive, that is not approved. You know, he already told us, and because he was already his presidency had been accused of a rubber stamp Senate presidency, which he vehemently refuses to accept it. But that is it. Because they could also be, just as AD has noted, then what could be that you're rushing for this to be approved few days to the end of this administration? Because it knows that definitely nobody is going to sit down to scrutinize, because consistently it is a case of you drop the budget, it is carry go. Okay, nobody goes about to say, okay, let us ask the real questions. Even if you're going to approve, it should be seen that there's some effort, some academic effort, some intellectualism. It should be, because incidentally, all the committees of the National Assembly have consultants. You can just get your consultants, those basic questions. Throw it at the executive. When they are all seated, throw it at them. What is this money meant for? Okay, Eddie has also noted. Now, how do we verify 50 million Nigerians, which only Lagos can go up? Just place Lagos now to say, okay, let us share 5,000 naira amongst 50 million people. Where is it going to go to? 5,000 every month. So I think government on their own have consistently been hiding things that they don't want us to know. And they have a very pliable Senate presidency or National Assembly that once it comes, look, yes, we stamp it and it goes. So that is why it becomes very difficult for somebody to query, if you've collected the ways and means this much from the CBN, how was it spent? CBN, how did you even raise these funds? How was it spent? Because those are oversight functions. So it's not forthcoming. Okay, it takes us again to, you want to disburse $800 million, 50 million vulnerable people. Where do you get them for? Is it only to a section? No. Is it across the country? We don't know. Because I am also yet to see. The example I gave to you was the closest I've come to disbursement of palliatives. That was the closest I've come. And incidentally, the old man is in Lagos today.
Okay.
So I think the federal government and the Senate, maybe there's something they are working at which they have not told Nigerians.
Okay. Now, let's cut your answer to just a minute. Eddie, in the Sena community or environment, would you conclude that the National Assembly that went and approved 23.7 trillion without having the details of how the money was spent and without approving it, acted well?
Well, it's difficult to say that they acted well in the light of the realities that we are facing. But what is even more worrisome is the seeming show of conspiracy between the executive and the National Assembly. Because I say this because I assume and actually presume very strongly that the National Assembly are otherwise made up of men of integrity and intelligence. So they should on their own be sufficiently, let me use the word wise, to look into all these things. But I'm sure, I suspect very strongly that because they are also compromised, that is why they can allow some of these things to go unchecked. Many of them have been state governors. Many of them have been ranking senators and lawmakers. So they actually know how it ought to be. But that the fact that they keep quiet, remove their eyes from the critical questions, indicate that they are compromising certain things because possibly they are also beneficiaries of these transactions. Otherwise, I also worry very strongly, for instance, why the major, to a large extent, the major concern of many of these lawmakers is constituency projects instead of actually lawmaking. So where does the government get this money to fund these constituency projects? I should think that because they benefit directly or indirectly from some of these actions and ineptitudes in the National Assembly, they compromise and just allow these things to go because ultimately they are also benefiting.
Thank you very much. Now, I have one question more to throw. Then we now look at the opportunity of opening the lines. We still have many people who are sponsoring us that we have to talk about for 1 minute or so. In your wisdom of Nigeria politics, sir, Charles Kalu, all these that are verifiable, mostly the ways and means advert, that one man was collecting against the regulation of 5% and against the regulation of CBN law that the money must be paid back before December, before you can collect another one. Then, and now send the same to the National Assembly, approve, as against use the word ratification. And the National Assembly said, but you did not accompany with how you engage the 22.7 trillion. In your knowledge, sir, are this enough to commit impeachable offense against the president if we operate a Senate line?
The president has continually gotten involved in several impeachable offenses, sir. So this one that is living in less than 2 weeks won't make any difference. It is just like a wild goose chase if you even think about it. And that is also why, they insist, which exactly the same thing that's going to happen to the 10th Assembly again, where you single-handedly pick people and mention their names that this is the next Senate president. And it works. Because the same thing happened to the last, the ninth Senate, the ninth National Assembly, where it was literally like, look, this is the anointed candidate. So where will the impeachment, how will the impeachment go through? Who approves the day of the sitting? Okay, who will raise the mallet to hit? So who? So it will be very difficult, but absolutely it is an impeachable offense. Because if you look at now the same Sena society, in quotes, which we are copying today, before anything, even for instance, you saw the politicking that went during the midterm election in the United States, for instance, where the president was looking for how can we get a simple majority, in a situation where one constituency became a big issue only because he knows that for his for any executive bill to pass, it is subjected to scrutiny. The president invites both legislators of his party and also bipartisan. They all come in where the executive is trying to explain why this must pass, because they know the implication. Only one vote would rubbish it. But unlike our own climb where, yes, we are here and we are here for the president, we are here for the executive. It almost looks as if just bring it, we just slam the mallet and we are off there. Okay, so it becomes, it is something that it is very difficult in our climb for you to think of impeachment, because if you do, so many things are going to come into it. They're going to whip up religious sentiments. They're going to whip up ethnic sentiments. They're going to whip up definitely political sentiments. So it's going to be very difficult for you to raise such issues.
Okay, please, Eddie.
Yes.
Help me, because I am depreciating on every minute as we discuss it. I don't know, maybe because the volume of facts I have. It's our democracy. Now that we have seen this past 8 years, and now we have executive, now not microzoning to regions only, but by name, that it must be this. For example, Shettima met with them last week, and Shettima looked at the eyes of Tajuddin Abbas and Honorable Ben Kalu and told the two of them, in spite of the presence of the opposition, he said, you are a speaker and deputy speaker in the waiting. With this, do you call this as that our democracy is developing? With this trend of every person agreeing when it comes to the food that let's finish it and go away. Where do you think this type of practice of democracy will take us to internationally and financially? Are we making progress?
Let me start by advising you not to depreciate. You are not in Nigerian Naira. So remain what you are. But to answer your question directly, it's really worrisome that we are not growing democratically in terms of democratic ethos and practices. And why do I say that? We are compromising the independence of the National Assembly by what we are already doing. The lawmakers are expected to elect their own leaders.
Yes.
Without the very overt intervention of the political party that produced them. And I think it's a dangerous signal to the health of our democracy, especially in the 10th assembly, the 10th National Assembly that we are going to have. If, as it is today, the party is already micro-pinning those who should run the affairs of the National Assembly, apparently, they are going to unduly defer at the appropriate time to those powers that have brought them to
those that handpicked them.
That handpicked them. And not necessarily either the interests of the people they are representing or to their fellow lawmakers that are in the various chambers. So if Shetima, the vice president-elect, is so categorical to declare ahead of the convocation of the National Assembly that, oh, you, Tajuddin Abbas, you are the speaker, and then Ben Kalu, you are the deputy speaker in waiting, I think it's an affront on the independence of the National Assembly, and in fact an insult on the integrity of the lawmakers themselves, who should unite to say, okay, based on your credential and your status and your experience, you should be our leader. But not that a leadership that will be imposed on the lawmakers themselves. So I should think that this is a great sign that the 10th National Assembly is going to be ab initio weakened, because they are going to do the bidding of those who are behind their emergence and not necessarily the interests of the Nigerian public.
This 800 million naira, I think Nigerians are wiser about it now. Then the other one, which was I don't know whether it is pressure or they have been paying down. And you now use the word now, which I saw myself using sometimes within the past 1 week, that hand picking. Therefore, if this can be identified as a danger to the practice of democracy, what is your greatest fear for Nigeria's future democracy, Charles? Following this trajectory.
Already the Senate is already burdened, because if you look at even the Akpabio that has been handpicked, you know, he's burdened. He's facing the Anti-Corruption Commission. You know, he has case to answer. So already that one too is also there. Yes, Akpabio has insisted that when he was a governor, that what money cannot buy, more money can buy.
No, he's still doing it now.
Akpabio was in Lagos yesterday, yes, to also, I think, to meet some stakeholders. I think he met the governor of Lagos State. So he's already burdened. But the thing too now is, we are almost seeing, you know, you're just exchanging the baton. You're exchanging the baton from one, in quotes, rubber-stamped Senate presidency to another one, because definitely you couldn't have been unpicked by the national chairman of the party, the president-elect, the vice president-elect, and you think the executive brings any paper to you, you won't mark it good. It will be very difficult, and it is also, you see, the thing is, even when they say overt and covert, that even if we covertly engage you to appoint you, that one is normal. It is the normal horse trading. It is the normal politicking, okay, which every other person does. You know, you go around, you go secretly, you present yourself, you tell people that this is why I've presented myself, this is why I think I'm capable of doing this work. That is how it should be. It shouldn't be obvious. Absolutely, it shouldn't be obvious that you now come, you say, okay, it's a zone. So if you're zoning the deputy speaker of the House of Representatives to the southeast, throw it open, because he also has a right to meet his colleagues. For instance, 1, 2, or 3 of them from that zone could come up to say, I'm interested. So whoever you may have also overtly or covertly have your mind in, the person can still go out to campaign amongst his colleagues from that zone. The zone can now come up to say, okay, we have met as a consensus. This is the man we think should represent us. And you sell the person to the larger house. So it cannot be something that, you just come out, you insist, it is almost like this is it. But why will you also take the same position? You did not take the same position during the presidential primaries of the party. You did not take the same position because you gave everybody a chance to go out there. Yes, even though covertly you may have your candidate in mind, but you gave everybody a chance to express themselves. So you can't just come now, because for the Senate, yes, it could be easier, but the House of Representatives, who knows how easy it's going to be, for them to now say, okay, the leaders you have also overtly given to us are not the leaders we are going to follow.
Okay, thank you. I'm coming to a question, and this question will be thrown to 2 of you. President Muhammadu Buhari had been taken to the public market of the people and sold, and I want to believe bought, paid for, as anti-corruption czar, as a man who hates corruption. Now, in the last 4 years or 8 years, we have come into a situation that much money will be voted, no result will be proportionate to measure, and nobody is being queried, nobody is being asked a question. In fact, matter of corruption came to the fore when the ADC, the Superintendent of Police, Bini, to the wife of the president, was alleged to have collected 2.5 billion naira from people. Aisha Buhari, the president's wife, admitted that he duped his friends and business partners. Nobody says that the wife of the president cannot be doing business, but that's not the issue. And it was alleged 2.5 billion. Until today, nobody knew what happened. Can it really be affirmed that a man who is not corrupt would give money to go and do his job? The job is not done, the money is not seen, and he queries nobody, he cares less of somebody. That's my one question. 2, yesterday on published television, President Muhammadu Buhari admitted tolerating corruption. But when he said that, he gave example that the governors, they are the greatest enemy of progressive in this. Then he told us how the governors dealt with local government chairman. He now said, I'm quoting him now. He said, let's take, for instance, that 100 million is given to the local government from the federal account on this monthly sharing formula. President Muhammadu Buhari now made the statement. He said, what they do is that the governor will keep 50 million. Then he will send 50 million to the local government chairman with a letter that the local government chairman will sign, which reads that I receive 100 million. If a man who is not corrupt at all, please, this question, I know the difference between legality and morality, and everything has gone dead like this, can it be justifiably really announced that this man is not corrupt? Eddie, you want to hit you have just a minute, please.
Okay. It's a difficult question to ask, but I think the answer is not too far-fetched. I would rather say that much as there is a presumption that the president, Mr. President, President Buhari, has not shown overt signs of corruption, I would rather put it that he's very weak. Weak in curbing corrupt practices and tendencies that are verily around him. So many people around him are verily corrupt, but he seems to do nothing about it. So the assumption of complicity may be attached to the president, because even one of his ministers very recently admitted that Mr. President will never check you. As soon as he gives you work to do, you go ahead and do it. He admitted. I can't readily remember the minister, but they were all giving tribute to the kind of president Mr. Buhari is. And he said that as soon as Mr. President gives you a job to do, he funds you, he doesn't come back to check whether how you expended that fund or something. And that weakness alone promotes, generates, and escalates corruption. Because people will mind what you inspect, not what you expect.
People will mind what you inspect,
not what you expect.
So, no, please let me repeat it for the third time.
Yes.
People will mind what you expect.
Yes, not what you expect. So if they know that they are not going to inspect the books after you have given the instruction, they will do whatever they want to do. They will do whatever. Go and check the amount they are using even in the construction of roads per kilometer in Nigeria. Compare with some other countries. You will see that these are there are elements and attributes of corruption everywhere, and you will see that it is replete everywhere. You everywhere you turn. How you mentioned the point of somebody spending 200 and something billion during the COVID to feed school children that are at home till today. Who has been held as a result of that? How did that woman carry those food to the people's homes?
There is power of magic. But you tell us into that metaphysical. You take us
we don't do metaphysics in government.
Gentlemen, I want to appreciate you, but please calm down, like that boy told the mother. Eddie, calm down. Charles, calm down. We are returning back. Let's hear messages and let's pick one or two calls. Listeners, my apology that you don't have the time today. You have to choose, of course, hearing what you are hearing and which are facts, or you just be on the line. So go ahead, Kayode.
Okay. Wow. How many of these vary? It takes a corrupt man to be surrounded by corrupt people. That's why police is no friend to thieves. Okay. And that was Zeus, by the way. Now, let's go to, you didn't put your name. The problem now is that the followers are wiser than the leadership. Bunch of clueless, arrogant, and illiterate individuals are very much worn out in ideas. Let them continue to be pharaohs until God strikes. Good morning, Guru, and the guests. All right, part of our problem expenditure is more than income. Until subsidies go and will increase our tax net, and both followers and leadership determined to pay some sacrifices, Nigeria will keep on complaining and analyzing problems rather than solutions. Emmanuel. All right, it doesn't matter who ruled or take the position of leadership. All right, let's take one more message here. Good morning, Oluke and the Guru, alongside our guest. I think, in summary, money was collected from World Bank under the disguise of palliative. The money was disbursed, shared, and couldn't be accounted for. The purpose of the money is invisible, corruption enhanced and empowered. It goes on and on. I think this has been a rhetorical pattern of every government that has graced the seat of power. The incoming government will follow this route. Adegbega Adedeji. Let's just speak about two calls before we call it a day. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to the Guru and the gentleman in the studio.
Peter Monse, I don't know how you do
go
it.
straight away to the point because you have only 30 seconds.
That's my question. And the question is, if we have a National Assembly that is not doing the wishes of the people that elected them as they claim, and we don't have the executive that is interested in the citizenry, now, is it not the fault of the Constitution? We revisit the Constitution and make it possible that if the executive does not do what it's supposed to do, the Constitution should have the penalty against the executive.
All right then. Thank
Peter,
you so
you are
much.
talking of
Hello.
Constitution. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Morning to you, sir.
Your name?
This is Mr. Patrick calling from Vokes, sir.
Patrick from Vokes, let's hear you. 30 seconds.
Sir, I'm full of tears. What is happening in this country? I'm full of tears. Where are we going? As I'm telling you, I'm a blind man. Where are we going? I'm full of tears. Look at the way Nigeria is moving. Look at the way we are suffering. Look at the way the money is going, flying over, flying every part. Oh,
all right.
Okay.
It shall be well, sir. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. My name is George, calling from Dega.
All right, George. Let's hear you, sir.
Yeah. The question that the second of the asked about what the person that said the fashion on channel television that if President Buhari gives you work, that you will not ask or you will not bother to take what you are doing because he has confidence in you that he will just allow you to do. Is Babatunde Raji Fashion on channel television.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Morning to you.
Makandi is my name.
Makandi. Okay, let's hear you, sir.
What's up, big water?
All right, 30 seconds.
Please.
The fact is that we have a nation where pharaohs are the leaders. And grooming more pharaohs. The question is, if part one of these same people that have bastardized this nation, Nigeria was in today Nigeria is a country. We are seeking for recognition. How can we manage the part two?
All right.
What do you think that part two can be to us?
Okay, thank you so much. And on that note of part two, we need to bring it home.
Now, gentlemen, you have 20 seconds if we can manage it.
I thought they'll use that 20 seconds to promise when next they're coming.
We can only discuss that outside the studio.
Exactly.
Okay. Gentlemen, the question is this. In the situation of compromise leadership selection, either for National Assembly or a president that will give instruction, give you the amount of money you mentioned without coming to check half percent, is there any hope for the ordinary Nigeria if we keep running like this?
Oga, there is hope for the ordinary Nigerian. Last, everybody will chop breakfast.
It's like you are traveling to Abia.
I'm not traveling to Abia, but what I'm trying to say is the common man always have a way to eke out a living. And definitely, if the elites, all of us, political elites, whatever elites we think we are, if we don't give them a chance to breathe, they will definitely find a way to breathe.
Eddie?
Yes, I agree that there is hope, but I think life can be made a lot easier for the Nigerian people. We are struggling to survive. Yes, you use the word resilience. I agree. Nigerians are very resilient people. But life can be made a lot easier.
All right.
If government is sincere and devoted and committed to the well-being and the comfort of the people, life will be a lot easier.